think we're talking enough that we should put it in a podcast again. And then you got the camera, and here we are.
We were some fresh-faced boys.
Yes.
And
You didn't have the
more
curls.
hair on my beard and none of it on my head.
It felt like an adventure.
I can hear the music playing in my head.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I'm one of your hosts, Alejandro. With me is the gardener master of garden shears,
Paul, hey everybody, how's it going? You come up with the weirdest titles for me. How's everything going, Alejandro?
It's been good, especially after yesterday. We did how many hours of reactions?
Like at least 3?
Yeah, with like a break in between because we thought it was gonna be back to back. But just same old. It's like the month is almost over. Things are feeling a little more exciting, and guess what? There's more rain over here. Same as you, right?
Same here. It's currently just pouring rain again.
Yeah. Now, like, can you believe it's been almost a year since you were gathering yourself to get ready for Ida?
I don't think I'm ever gonna forget it. I wish I could though.
Yeah.
Because boy, was that a time. I know it was probably in about the 29th, I think we said.
Mm-hmm.
So in like five days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a time, and that was not a fun time. So I'm really hoping we get a break this year. But some people have been saying it's going to be another busy one once September kicks off. They're thinking.
Yeah. Hopefully, just like last year, I know ahead of time if you're gonna be going into shelter to see what we do as like a replacement. Yeah. Like last year, Zach came in clutch, but there's something about this year that I don't know. I know he's probably listening, but he hasn't been on in our show for like this entire year, and
he's a busy man.
Yeah, he's been busier. I wonder with what? Maybe just playing Elden Ring. But we'll see what happens. But hopefully, you're not gonna suffer any other hurricanes there. And we don't get hurricanes over here. We just get a bunch of rain. The worst that could happen is that it knocks out my internet. That would suck. But but we get to escape a little bit because this is the X Button Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Thursday from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing, available on the YouTube channel Escape Media, as well as most audio services around the world, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at anchor.fm/escape-media. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So let me just check something real quick and go. So Paul, tell me, what have you been playing?
I, as the briefest of mentions, was plugging away at Jack 2 the other day. I got to a lot further. I finally reached beyond the really frustrating parts of that game, and I'm enjoying myself again, but also just kind of wanting to be done with it. Besides
it's long.
That,
it's long, I tell you. Jack 2 is way longer than anyone would expect.
And besides that, I started and then finished Horizon Forbidden West.
Finally.
I completed it. I went back to it. I had like a long weekend where the wife was out of town and I could just really dial in. And I mostly mainlined. I did a few side quests that I was told were either good ones or like gave you something really good out of it. Like the one that gives you there's like a legendary javelin, of course, like doing the arenas to get all of the really good bows. And by the end there was this one special move where you have to kneel down and you fire this really powerful explosive shot, and I was like two-shotting some of the enemies, and it just felt really
very
good.
satisfying, right?
So I was like, because that's the problem that I get a lot of the time when so much is available to be unlocked. You know that some of it is like intended to be used more than some others, or some are better designed. And when each of the things that you get is just like, it's going to fill the same slot that you have to pick which option you're going to use, it kind of like overwhelms me. And then I oftentimes pick not the best option. So I had to kind of rely on some tutorials or suggestions, but overall I enjoyed myself. It was a great little romp. The ending was super cool. To not spoil it for anybody that didn't play it, but it's awesome. and it really builds on everything that you've done beforehand, almost like a Mass Effect game where it's
told you.
you really are just preparing, gathering up your forces, talking to your buddies, and then at the end it's like, all right, boys, let's go. And you just flood in with all of your buddies and do some awesome, crazy Infinity War stuff.
It's the closest a game has gotten to doing the suicide mission from Mass Effect 2. No game still has gotten to the level of consequence of that game where everything could happen, but this is the closest something has gotten, and it made me feel happy to get that warm feel of like, man, remember when there was this RPG almost 10 years ago that really all built towards this final suicide mission? So,
and it was so powerful that it actually held with all of our collective consciousness for that many years, despite the issues that series had.
Oh, yes. And so what else, Paul?
I also tried out yesterday. It came out, the Midnight Fight Express game.
Now, did you buy that or did you try it on Game Pass?
I went ahead and bought it because Game Pass is $15 really, but I knew that it was either I was going to buy that and then not need it for future months, and then I would lose access to this game. So I decided to just buy it. It was $20. And I know it kind of is up my alley more than a few other indie games that I try. So I just went ahead and took the plunge on it. It was, it's got a couple of problems that I know could be fixed with patches. However, overall, I'm definitely positively, it's a positive experience so far. It's definitely a less refined Sifu. And if you like took Arkham, the Arkham series combat and like took a little of the polish away from it, where it's like you can kind of do whatever, but sometimes they like throw so many options at you. Like, say for Sifu, you have to like hit one button and then hit up or down on your controller stick to decide how it happens. There's a lot of those kind of combos that you can unlock. And it was kind of like, all right, these are a lot of different ways to do the same thing, which is like, it's a finisher and the person dies and you move on. So it's like, it almost feels like there's a lot to do the same thing, which is all just fight. But at the same time, that's what the game's about. And it's really more about doing better, getting your combos, don't get hit, and kind of blending in that Hotline Miami aspect.
That's the thing. Like, are there combos? Because I played it a little bit, and you only attack with X, and holding X for strong attacks, and Y is like to.
Yes,
I played it on Xbox. So
it's all stuff that you unlock. So you start off with that one move that's a punch, and then you hold the punch, and then there's like the combo, and you hit L1 to do the finisher out of it. There's stuff that builds off of that. So there's tap light attack twice, you get a finisher out of it. You have a special counter move that uses a kick. You have grapple moves. You have a pistol that you unlock that recharges, that you can string in. There's like a rope dart gun or something that you permanently unlock as well. There's like 5 different skill trees, and each one is adding more combos and opportunities and like ability to counter people with weapons, finishers with guns. It's like, it's a lot of stuff. So at first I was like, oh, I really hope there's going to be more to this, because I was getting a little concerned. And then after like the second level, which the levels go pretty quickly, you can knock them out in like 5 minutes ish. And besides that, I just continued on. It gets a little intense. They throw a lot at you after a while, and it's really gonna be I kind of want to go back to previous things like Sifu and like just get good at the fundamentals and then build off of it, because where Sifu is like really intense, 3, 4, 5 people, this is like 10 guys at one point. Each of them have like a special move, and it's really about kind of controlling the environment. So it's fun, it's crazy, but I think that with time I'm gonna continue to like it, and I'm gonna keep pushing on it as time goes on. So what have you been playing, Alejandro?
Yeah, so I tried a little bit of Midnight Fight Express because I completely forgot that game came out, because something else
messaged me. I was like, I had a feeling that he hasn't really touched this if he hasn't mentioned it.
Yeah, and then when you
bad.
No, if there's something bad, I'm surely gonna talk about it in our chat. But something else came out that that same day that we're gonna talk about it later.
Yep.
But it was like, yeah, I just tried it literally 5 minutes before we started recording, just to kind of get a feel for it. I was like, because you mentioned that seafood kind of thing, I was like, I want to see that, because I was not, I wouldn't say I was big on seafood. I was frustrated by seafood, but I had some fun with seafood, especially when they patched in the easy mode, because that game's tough. So yeah,
I will say they already have accessibility options. I haven't gone through them, but it looks
for
like
Midnight,
you can
for Midnight Fight Express. Okay.
So you can kind of dial things in as you like.
Yeah, perfect.
But anyway,
so,
continue.
But yeah, what I've really been playing was I finally finished Jak 3, so I finally did my whole journey through the Jak trilogy, and I'm still undecided if Jak 3 or Jak 1 are my favorites, but I will certainly say that Jak 3 was much better an experience for me than Jak 2, even though I've thought the kitchen sink approach of Jak 2 is more impressive as like from a jump from 1 to 2. Yeah. But Jak 3 was like, the story had some really fun twists near the end. That actually caught me off guard. I was like, oh, okay. And the final boss was, it's ironically, this game came out a year before Shadow of the Colossus. It was a Shadow of the Colossus style boss fight. And I was like, huh. So they actually did this kind of thing first, because it's a big boss in the desert while you're riding your buggy. And this like massive robot that you see in the distance, and it doesn't load. And there's something cool about that kind of scale of a boss, that you can travel the whole map as you fight it. So, and especially when they reveal what the precursors are, I'm not gonna spoil you that. That gave me like a good chuckle.
Oh, I actually do know that one.
That the precursors are basically
the ocelots.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember hearing that, and that. Is the girl that Dax is into, did she get transformed into 1 and 3? That was
in 3
when that happened? Okay.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that over the shoulder of my roommate, and I was like, what the crap?
Yeah. That was such a, like, that did so much into like lightening up the tone for what had become of Jak, because obviously Jak went through its Stranger of Paradise / Jak Chaos phase of edginess. Seriously. And Jak 3 was like, still had a little bit of that, because it was still not ignoring everything that happened with Jak 2 and the personalities, but it did so much to kind of lighten up the tone, even though it was still a little bit apocalyptic with the world ending with this like dark monsters from like years past that are like destroying universes and blah blah blah. And figuring out the precursors are basically what Daxter became, and some of them act like so goofy. One of them feels like it's straight out of the Goofy movie, I tell you. It did so much to be like, okay, I loved it. I'm glad they swerved like this, because it's like because Jak is a fun, like, no matter what, it's like, even with his edginess, Jak is kind of a funny series. There's like just something inherently funny about it. But I feel with Jak 2, I was laughing at it because of how edgy it tried to be, with only like Daxter trying to like liven up the mood. I'm glad that they remembered that with the end of this trilogy. And the story doesn't end here, because there's a PSP game, Lost Frontiers, that also came to PS2. There's no way for me to like access that. So Jak, and that wasn't done by Naughty Dog. In fact, Naughty Dog was working on that PSP game, and then they quote unquote canceled it. They were like, stopped working for it because they needed to work on Uncharted.
Did that like continue the storyline or something?
Apparently did.
Oh shit.
But
Nobody
it's like,
ever talks about that.
Exactly, because it wasn't made by Naughty Dog. It was made by High Impact Games, I think it was called, because they took what Naughty Dog had started and they just finished it on PSP, and it's on PSP. So, and Sony hasn't made it easy to acquire it also. So it's like the only modern ways that you can play modern Jak is that trilogy and Jak X. That's also on the PS2 classics for PS4/5. So I was done with Jak, and then just to kind of close the loop, because it's the only thing that I hadn't played in this like project that I'm embarking on, I went back to the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, and I beat the original Crash Bandicoot in 2 hours and 30 minutes, and that was shocking.
You're like a speed runner and reincarnated or something, because you just naturally like blast through games.
When I played games before, like I can go into some sort of speedrun mode. I'd be like, Jak took me a while because I've never played them. I don't know if it would be much faster if I go back to them now. But like Crash Bandicoot, I played, especially that original one, I played it many times. And then I went to Crash 2. I'm not as an expert for that one, because that was the only Crash game that I didn't grow up with. I mean, I played it when I was little, but I didn't own it. That's the only one that I rented it. I owned the first one and I owned the third one, so I know those are like the back of my mind. So I'm still working through Crash 2, because these are short games. I enjoy them, but then I had to stop because finally, after 2 months of waiting, my Xbox Series S finally made it home here. And
how has that been?
That Series S is a mightily impressive tiny machine for the things that it does to some of the games that I played, and specifically the quick resume feature that was touted before it came out, and getting to witness that in front of me. I tell you, as someone that likes sometimes playing many different games, quick resume is a godsend. Being able to like switch between games that are all in rest mode in between like 5 seconds and resuming right where you stop them, because obviously in the PS5 you can put the game in rest mode, and then you turn it on and you can start right on. Imagine being able to do that with 6 different games at a time, and being able to switch between all of them with with as minimal loading as possible. And on top of that, being able to play a bunch of 360 games that eventually got Xbox One X enhancements and have those enhancements there, and making many of those old games look new. Like being able to see Final Fantasy 13, which didn't look good on 360, it looked great on PS3. Now it got like a 4K resolution patch, and getting to see that game now is like, it's insane. Be like, wow, this is 12 years old and it looks better than most modern games. The original Red Dead, that it's already like its graphical style looked grimy in modern times, especially when you compare it to how Red Dead 2 eventually looks. Getting to see that game finally like super sharp again, or at least because you remember it looking sharp back when we were in 720p TVs, not in 4K TVs. And
I retried it once on my Xbox One, and I was like, this is trash. So I remember you posted a screenshot that did more for me than anything somebody could just verbally talk about.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, when I posted a screenshot from my phone and then from within the game, and you see like how clean it looks now. It's
That's
like,
the one.
I keep saying it over and over and over again. If Xbox had figured the frick out how to like properly manage their portfolio to release their new exclusives on top of all the features that they have, they would be the easy winners. Because seeing not only those games, but also the original Assassin's Creed, having that resolution improvement, plus being able to run at 60 frames, a game from 2007, and it looking as good as it still does. There's just something so cool about that machine, being able to not only have such a massive library from many, because they don't have the full library of the original Xbox or the 360, but they have so many of the games and so many of the important games that being able to play them at that quality, and with the instant loading, and the system is so quiet. The controller is over here. It's like, it's so nice. There's like a nice texture in the triggers that just feels so nice, and the D-pad has amazing clickiness everywhere. That it's just sort of very pleasing to play. And I tell you, it's like I'm just glad that at the very least I get that minimum, like that kind of like common denominator Xbox, to just be able to play all of these games, because I know that I have to be realistic. 3 to 4 years from now, I know that the lower specs of that machine may start crumble. That's just the reality. But for what I got for the price and how it plays a bunch of the old games that I love playing from the Xbox, because I associate more my experience with the Xbox playing backwards compatible games than I do modern games. I associate more modern games playing them more on my PS5. It's playing everything so well, and also it's good that I have gotten more of a preference in playing in performance modes than I do resolutions, because even though the Xbox Series S upscales a lot of things, like for example, I tried Halo Infinite in it, and that game definitely looks way blurrier than it did when I played it on PC, because it has like a dynamic resolution. So there are some times where it looks like really bad, sometimes it looks really good, depending on the time and the scenario. It runs at a perfect 60 frames. I'm like, this game, Halo has never been a looker, basically. So it's like, it plays so well. And I played the multiplayer again. I'm like, yeah, man, why does Halo Infinite play so good? And everything else has just been so badly mishandled. That game is just it's so unfortunate, like what that product has become since we played it at launch. But I tell you, it would be a worthy price. Like, if you don't want to like plop up at $500 for the Series X, like if you don't care about 4K, if you just care about being able to play a bunch of these games, and especially like the value of Game Pass is still like undeniable. I'm gonna be paying for Game Pass from here on out, it's been totally worth it. I've been so happy for it, and I can't wait to play more Midnight Fight Express when we're done recording because it's there. And also that stupid Omori game, because I had that I had a cranky experience when I tried it 2 nights ago. And for Zach's sake, because he recommended it to me, I'm gonna push through just to see it through, because I sure have recommended other things to him. So, but enough of that, Paul, because we were playing something else, but we're not gonna talk about it right now because it's part of the news. So, press X.
Or news.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this game because it's part of one of the 2 live streams that we did this week. The first one's already live, our Destiny 2 Lightfall reaction for the showcase. The other reaction is still like, I'm having trouble downloading the video file so I can overimpose the thing. So that's still like something I'm going to be working on it. So but if it doesn't show up, it's because I wasn't able to acquire the video to be able to just overimpose it. That would suck, but we reacted to 2 of this showcase. So let's talk about number 1, the Destiny 2 2022 showcase recap, Paul. So point 1, Bungie officially unveiled the next expansion for Destiny 2 called Lightfall. Lightfall was originally unveiled back in 2020, but this was the first official details. The next expansion is releasing on February 28, 2023, and will be in the secret city of New Muna on Neptune. The expansion will once again feature a big focus on its campaign after the positive reception of the legendary campaign on Witch Queen, and will feature the latest Darkness subclass Strand. The expansion will also feature new activities, a new raid, new exotics, and more. Before we continue, Paul, what were your impressions of what we saw of actual Lightfall?
I liked it. It honestly, I had no idea what I was expecting. I thought it would be some kind of really overly dramatic dark thing based on any of the marketing assets that we'd already seen for Lightfall.
Mm-hmm.
But after Witch Queen, which was already a very serious and kind of freaky, creepy looking vibe to it, I was like, all right, I guess. I mean, they're building up to something. Maybe they'll just stick with that. But like you said, word for word, they went Thor Ragnarok with it.
Yeah.
They put Miami Vice synthwave skies, neon everything. Freaking, oh, it was gorgeous. And of course, sorry for all these weird noises. I immediately started eating a Tums gummy as soon as you'd ask me that. They showed all of the main 3 Guardians, as always, showing off the new subclass Strand, which it just looks so cool. It's very different.
More importantly, it gives you a grappling hook to all your classes that you can grapple from everywhere, even from like thin air.
I was worried that it would be latched to like a specific area, but then when they showed that it was like you can grapple any object plus just literally randomly in the sky and just latch on that sucker and go flying around using the momentum, even showing a brief moment of I think Forsaken, the train from Forsaken, with that whole strike being really frustrating to get through sometimes, especially for newer characters to kind of navigate their Sparrow through that. And they just latched onto it, and it took them all the way through that whole segment. And I was like, oh, this is going to be like some creative solutions to a lot of problems. And I'm so excited to see that stuff because, I mean, that was one of the main things I loved about Halo Infinite is the fact that they put a freaking grappling hook in the game.
And the grappling hook is the best thing about that game.
Absolutely.
It's like it completely transformed that game's sandbox. And this, especially with Destiny having such different gameplay styles depending on the class that you use and also the subclasses with the Arc, Void, Solar, Stasis, and now Strand. Now, like, Strand is like, it feels so unique and so different from what has come before. And I can't wait to see what the speedrunning community of Destiny does with it. Just think of it, because there's many people that love doing speedrunning so many of the activities, even ones that are super hard and require like 3 people. There's people that do it with either 2 people or by themselves and do it so quick. This is going to make quite a spectacle. And
you imagine all of like the sequence jumping and the breaking of raids and stuff, like at least old ones for sure, where you can just like, all right, I'm gonna slingshot this thing and get just enough momentum to go over this wall and do this thing. And I love when they're confident enough in their mechanics to allow something like that allows for so much player freedom and a high ceiling.
And what's the best part about Destiny?
Is, I mean, the freedom of doing whatever you want, shooting, jumping.
The gameplay.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
The gameplay.
I was like, I'm not sure what you mean actually.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Destiny is like why it's such a mainstay is because it's so fun to play.
Yes.
For even when you have the troll saying dead game is that or trying to destroy it is like there's like no denying it's like it's strong gameplay is why people still come back to it.
I mean they said it themselves 5 million new
players. Yeah, new players
since
last
joined.
year. Yeah.
And that's nuts. And I had a feeling just from the vibe of everything that everything's been a lot more positive, even outside of what you've been saying, where there was a lot of really rough times for some of those expansions and such, but it just felt like overall the people that have actually tried it have liked it.
Yeah. And the thing is that the game is in a great spot when it comes. I mentioned it in our stream. You can go look at it. It's just for 48 minutes. The game is in a great spot in its content. The content that they're actually putting out right now is the best the games have been. The storytelling, some of the best storytelling that I've seen from Bungie, not just in the seasonal stories, but even within the campaigns. All of that has been working well. There's still some roughness with the things around that content, like I was mentioning the playlists and some of the things that they were doing with their business decisions that actually got addressed here. So let's continue with this. Point 2, Paul, the showcase gave everyone a look at a long list of features coming to Destiny 2 in the next year. So first is Guardian Ranks, a reputation system that will not only help new players find their way into the game, but also reward veterans for helping others and for being an all-around exceptional player. That was like the first thing we saw that felt like a new sort of quest log that gave a clearer idea of where to start and where to get. So, at point number 2, mods and loadout manager. Creating custom builds requires time and patience, and there has been no easy way to do that in-game until now. The new mods and loadout manager coming with Lightfall will allow you to create and save a build in a single place. Switching between all your builds will also be easy. Just select the build in your character screen and you are done. There are many third-party tools called DIM that does this. I hate the idea of having to look outside to be able to do stuff that should be in the game. This is long overdue, especially since Destiny became more of a build crafting game than before.
Because I mean, just from something as simple as doing your weekly strike set that switches what subclass you have to use, and very many of these are very specifically set to a certain subclass, like your armor pieces and the mods within them, for anybody that doesn't know, has to be set to that subclass. It does certain things for that, and it'll take you, at least if you know exactly what you're doing, I say it takes 5 to 10 minutes. If you're not entirely sure, it's going to take you way longer, and nobody wants to deal with all of that. So just this fact alone is fantastic, being able to switch between those.
Yeah, and not only mods, just my loadout manager, because it's like, especially this has been the year where they have synergized that, especially because the way Destiny works is that you have 3 weapons. There's the kinetic weapon that's just like a traditional weapon. There's the energy weapon that can be a primary or secondary weapon that has like a elemental subclass to it, and there's so much synergy now between the subclass that you have equipped, which is the Void, Arc, or Solar, and the special weapon, and how that synergizes with your mods and all of that, that having to switch that weekly whenever that rotates, it's extra time that wasn't there before, because they added that extra emphasis on that synergy this year.
And then you're wasting inventory slots having to keep all those different weapons in your inventory just in case you need to switch to it on the fly. So
when that didn't used to be a problem before, because we didn't have to care about builds like we do now, and builds have made the game more fun, but build crafting comes with extra complexity, and this is a good way to like streamline that. PC players already had DIM to be able to do that for them. Your friend Duncan uses that, and sometimes he has put his DIM loadouts in our Discord chat. That's good if you're on PC, because it's easy to just put that. Imagine having to like
do that on console though.
You could, but it's like when you're in console and having to be like, time to.
I mean, you'd have to have a computer next to you, or like use the app to do that. But
and that's the thing. There's no app. You have to go to a website. DIM is a website.
Yeah. I'm thinking the vault process, which is a whole nother thing, really, and is still really hard to find exactly what you're looking for. So yeah.
Another one, commendations. Coming into Lightfall, there will be a chance at the end of activities to tell others that they were a great teammate or a worthy adversary. This one was funny. To me, it's like, this isn't a big deal, but to me, it's funny that they're adding commendations a week-ish after Sony announced that they're eliminating commendations from the PS5 because no one used it, because it was so hard to use. So it's so funny. I wonder if they were, because now I remember they're owned by Sony. So,
that is.
So it's just so funny how that worked out. Even though if you saw in the showcase, they didn't make mention of that at all because they know they just want to be like an all-encompassing game.
I think I mentioned what was like, oh, it's interesting that they didn't even mention it, and then you were saying how because of how independent they were, I guess it would make sense, and they don't really want to.
Exactly, and I'm glad that you could see that. And the only reference they had that they were owned by Sony is that all the gameplay that they were showing had PlayStation icons, but that was it. So,
which I appreciate. There was one thing I wanted to mention. With the commendations, did we hear that they were going to say it does anything like actually to your character? Is it just
it was just more like morale building or something like that in between teammates.
I'm fine with that. I mean, it's always nice whenever it's like attached to something. But overall, it's like, I'll just good job. It's like, all right, cool.
But this next one is 9 years overdue. LFG Fire Team Finder. It doesn't matter. Yes, so. It doesn't matter if you're looking for mentors to teach you a raid or just want to farm some Grandmaster Nightfalls, you will find someone here to help and maybe new friends to play with in the future. LFG Fire Team Finder is something that you can use many third-party apps because this game doesn't have matchmaking in many of its activities. They intentionally don't put matchmaking because they know that some activities require a level of coordination that requires you to speak to people, and they know that if they randomly put some people together, there is a chance for a toxic experience, like ruining it for people. So and that's the thing, like finding like using those third-party finders doesn't exactly prevent you from getting toxic people together, because that's just the nature of humanity. It's just the fact that all of that was done outside the game. Eventually, they did the half step of putting an LG Team Finder in the app, but it's like, if you're putting it in the app, why are you not putting it in the effing game? Like, being able to use this, like, obviously there's not gonna be matchmaking, but being able to use an LG Fire Team Finder that looked like a server browser, like back in the Battlefield days, where you can see what activities some people are doing, because you can put something there in a Fire Team Finder. You're like a team of 4 and be like, we need one. Maybe someone can join you. We're teaching the new raid. Then or things like that. We want to do Trials of Osiris. Just being able to do that all in game is like that's just think about this. It's like you played Destiny 1.
Yeah.
Many of the greatest experiences of Destiny 1 you didn't play.
Nope.
You didn't play the King's Fall, which
there was no way to find other people to do it.
Exactly. Unless your friends were all playing at the same time, and that's always the likelihood of that happening. Very tough. The most I had friends that were playing Destiny at the same time while I was in college was 3 friends. Many of the big activities need 6, so it requires you to find others. So I'm glad that this is finally going to be in game. But the final point about some of the things that are coming next year that needs no explanation: no more expansion sunsetting. I said it in our pre-talk before the thing started. Is like, expansion sunsetting is what had become the thing that was making it harder and harder for me to recommend the game to a new player. Because I made the analogy, it's like you asking someone, hey, jump into Game of Thrones right now at the 6th season. Oh yeah, what happened to seasons 1 through 5? Oh, those disappeared. You have no access to those. So
it's really, it's been messed up, and we've kind of talked about it, but just in case for anybody that's listening that hasn't understood what sunsetting means, is that they thought that the storage capacity was getting a little too big, so they took content that people had purchased out of the game, so it's impossible to play it or receive any items from it right now. So the fact that they're saying they're not going to take that out in the future, that was a big worry for everybody moving forward. So anyway,
and not only that, they specifically meant, because why they were doing that is it was the engine couldn't cope with the game being that big.
Yeah.
And so that's why they did. And they switched the engine of this game when we started in Beyond Light. And the promise was that eventually they were going to start bringing some content back. Like last season, the Leviathan was the raid for the original raid for Destiny 2. They didn't bring back the raid, but they brought the play space of the
okay. I
raid
didn't
back.
actually know that. That's cool.
Yeah, so it was what I was saying. Like, you didn't play a bunch of the big like end game content that makes the game back then. Now you do.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, there's always that kind of sting of, hey, I paid for this, and you're removing it. And the thing is that Bungie massaged this in a way that they were able to kind of like convince the community that it was something that needed to happen, when they were like, oh yeah, remember how like busted eventually the game started becoming? It was like loading so slow, it was bloating up your hard drive, that they managed to bamboozle many of the community to accepting, yeah, we're gonna remove things that you paid for. And to me, it was like when Forsaken got removed, that's when I started feeling the bigger sting, because I was like, man, Forsaken saved Destiny 2. When the original vanilla release of Destiny 2, initially impressed with this campaign, and then the oversimplification of everything kind of like started sinking into the hardcore community, and people started leaving that game in droves. It was like Forsaken was like the moment that saved this franchise, especially because this was the fool me twice, because Taken King saved the franchise back at the beginning after the original release of Destiny 1. Originally disappointed the people that were like, man, this game barely had any story, what's going on here, it's like, this is too complicated, this doesn't feel any good. And then it was Vault of Glass that changed the opinion of everything going forward for those that stuck with it. But then Taken King was like, no, this is what we can do when we actually put a story in a campaign, and like a cool vibe and setting, and reswitching all the systems. They had their Taken King moment twice. So, but by Forsaken, it was like, okay, this is your last chance. You cannot do another, oh yeah, now we're gonna get it right. But Forsaken got it so right that people always, that was the expansion that introduced Gambit. That was the last expansion that introduced a bunch of PvP maps. That was the expansion that introduces to seasons. It was like, it did so much to set Destiny 2 on the path of success. The problem was that then at the time, some people didn't come back to that. But it's like, seeing Forsaken got it like that. Only half of Forsaken is still in the game, with the Dreaming City and the Last Wish raid. It was so sad, and I'm glad that now we're at a point where it's like, okay, Shadowkeep, the not so great expansion that came after that, is staying in. Beyond Light will forever stay in. Witch Queen, imagine if they had removed Witch Queen, the one that everyone loves this campaign. It's like, I'm just glad that now it's like there's gonna be more of a threat, even if it's still the original pieces are still not there. But this gives me hope that if they already did something in the engine that can hold everything together, because that's specifically how I say it, they worked behind the scenes to make this work. Maybe now we're not too far off of them finally bringing that back. Because if Final Fantasy XIV can still let you play content from like 2014 when they relaunched that game to now, why couldn't they? It's like, there's no excuse. So I'm glad that they're finally fixing that. So that wasn't the only thing they showed, Paul. Season 18, Season of the Plunder, was shown and released on the same day. Featuring a pirate theme and building upon the events of the Beyond Light campaign, the latest Destiny 2 season will run from August 23rd to December 6th. Season of the Plunder features a new weekly mission, a new 6-player activity, a new 3-player matchmade activity, new gear to loot, and new weapons to craft. The delicate tuned exotic fusion rifle can be instantly unlocked with the season pass. The Arc 3.0 subclass revamp and the inclusion of the reprised raid King's Fall from Destiny Taken King is available for free to all players this season. So we put this in what we've been playing. I said hold it until we're here. What are your impressions of Season of the Plunder?
Honestly, if I'm being fully honestly, at first I was underwhelmed, because like for the idea of a lot of the stuff around it seemed really cool. The parts of it, I wasn't really sure what to go into because I don't really like the look of any of the guns.
You're crazy. The guns all look great.
They just, I'm not a huge fan of like all of the pointy everything's all over them.
It's pirates.
No, like not the fallen parts that, like, you know how they have the crazy spikes on their backs and stuff, because a lot of the guns have all that sticking.
Are you talking the armor? Yeah, the armor I'm not too crazy about. The weapons look cool.
Yeah, the armor as well I'm not huge on. The weapons, the shotgun's growing on me because it's got this really cool aesthetic to it. But anyway, the activity is really fun because it's basically two ships, like a pirate theme thing, firing at each other, and you have to repel the borders of the first one, and then you jump firing yourself across to the next ship, do some damage over there, and then that's about it. So that was really fun. Arc 3.0 by itself is worth it because boy, is that just
the Titan is like so unleashed with Arc 3.0, especially when you get into like the quick sprinting.
Yes, the quick sprinting makes running through some areas, which as a Titan usually feels terrible because you're so slow running. I mean, it's not by much compared to the others, but it sometimes still feels like you're just running for 3 or 4 minutes through some of these missions, and now you could just clean house through it. Your charge punch, distance attack, shockwave looking thing, boosted up your supers, making all that a lot easier, getting aspects for your grenades. It's just great.
I'm not a huge fan of the thunder clap ability, the one that you have to charge and move.
Yeah,
there's like a cool area of effect that it does, but
there's a weirdness to it, but I haven't nailed it down yet.
It's not the weirdness. It's just the fact that the Titan, the kit of the Titan feels like it's meant for you to just keep running, shoulder charging, jumping, and all of that. That then having to stopping your tracks to charge and then attack just feels at odds.
Well, there is still a shoulder bash that they.
There is. That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm glad that that's still in, because shoulder bash has always been part of the Titan kits for all three of them. The hammer in the fire, the shield bash in the in void, and then shoulder charge with arc. I'm glad that's still here, but it's just that everything else feels so fast with the Titan. It just feels weird that the new punch that they added for him is not something that you can charge while you're running. You have to like stand in place to do that.
Yeah, I will say that I really wish that you could be kind of in the air from momentum that you've built up, start charging, and then unleash it. But I guess they figured that was going to be too powerful a thing, especially for PvP, where you just start running, charge it up in the air, and then come around a corner and unleash it. Might be just that would be so broken.
Yeah, and they don't want the Titan to be floating. They want all their moves to be like in the ground, because the floating is supposed to be left to the Warlock.
Right. So that's like, oh man, if only I could do something cool like that. But overall, I didn't really mind it. There's one problem with it, it feels a little inconsistent where it cuts off based on, like, I know as you charge it gets more powerful, but sometimes I feel like I should hit something and it's like, why did that not take damage? And then vice versa, if it's too close to you, it won't register and it'll start behind it. And I'm like, you son of a gun. I also need to remap my charge move, because it's currently trying to do a regular punch if enemies are too close to me.
That's the thing. You don't need to like remap. You just have to stay farther away.
I know, but I really don't want to, because like, you're a Titan, you're going to be rushing into the middle of it anyway.
And so the thing is, like, if your remap is going to be the same problem. That's what I'm telling you. Even if it's
is
like
it always going to be?
Yeah, because I have it remapped. Like my charge melees are R3, my normal melees are R1.
Right. Me. Okay. So I just thought that mine was mapped incorrectly, where my regular melee was both R3 and R1.
To be able to charge, you have to have a very specific distance between your enemies. If you're too close, it's going to melee.
Okay, I was hoping that was just a me problem. That sucks. All right, anyway. But yeah, everything else has been really cool. And I love the glowing blue of the subclass. So all of my glowing armor is very happy about that.
I feel I'll enjoy the loop of the weekly loop of this season a little bit more than last, because last season was way too focused on nightmare containment, and that thing didn't
not like that.
and that thing, I liked it the first week, and then by the third week when I saw that the only thing that changed was the boss at the end, I was like, no. And
which nothing really changes about the boss except for how big or small they are.
Exactly. So
they would do different things, and it didn't really.
So much of that season relying on that loop of just doing the nightmare containment, and then eventually charging the nightmare containment on to do the weekly mission. That was actually pretty cool, because it had some cool story. That burned me out on that season way too much, especially because I went too hard on farming that dungeon also. So yeah, this one with the 6-player activity, that is the 2 ships that are battling, and then you invade the other one, and then the 3-player matchmade activity where you're like in an expedition where you're like picking some treasures that then eventually leads you into like a treasure spot that you dig up that can potentially then give you a hidden map that sends you to a new lost sector activity to find like some pirates. It feels like there's more individual activities here than there were than there were last season. That at the very least, I know that I'll be able to play a few things before I have to engage in the shambles. That is the strike playlist, the PvP playlist, and Gambit. Like those are the 3 activities that I have had my fill with, because they don't change meaningfully. You're way too powerful for them. There's barely any new things added to them. So I'm just glad that those activities at least seems like you can engage in the new things instead of having to go back to like the old stuff. But I can't wait for Friday, because that's when King's Fall launches. And
that's going to be interesting to see that, because I think our clan is supposed to be setting up a day 1 raid, aren't they?
There are some of us that want to try it, but we're not committing to completing it because day 1 has the modifier. I tried the modifier on Bow of the Disciple the first day, late that day, and it was unbearable, I tell you. So,
yeah, there's no way I'm gonna touch it.
Yeah, so we'll see. But then the next day, the modifier disappears. So that's gonna be just more normal. And the good thing is that you don't have to grind up for this raid. It's 1560, and the fact that they give us the gift, they put us at 1570.
That's per each class, right?
Yeah, all of them.
Thank God.
Because I had my.
We're getting real behind because I don't really play Hunter and Warlock at all.
Exactly, and now it gives you an excuse to dabble.
Definitely.
So overall, like, I'm feeling more positive about this. This is a season that's gonna take us all the way to December. Obviously, we're gonna have a bunch of games in between there, but after I had been in the point, I told you many times in the show, like, I can't stand Destiny right now. Like, I can't really touch it. I need something new.
I mean, you've played that duality dungeon like 5 times in 2 days or something.
Oh yeah, but I played it like 50 times.
Yeah,
that
you
season
played it way too much.
Because I wanted everything. Because that's the thing. Like, when you make a dungeon farmable, you will, like, with a chance for you to always get new stuff depending on what your luck is. That's what makes you like want to keep doing it. Mm-hmm. Before, dungeons were like, okay, if you've done it in 1 week, wait until the next one.
Yeah.
So there's something to that kind of like incentivization. But the final thing that they announced for this showcase, Paul, for Destiny was starting on August 23rd, Destiny 2 is expanding into the Epic Games Store. As part of this new partnership, players will have the chance to claim the Destiny 2 30th anniversary pack for free as a limited time offer. That was the 25th anniversary. The 30th anniversary thing they did at the end of last year. Yeah. In the middle of that season that needed to be extended because of the delay for Witch Queen. That's what gave us the Grasp of Avarice dungeon, which is the pirate themed dungeon that's definitely put them, like, lighted a bulb in Destiny's designers for this season, and gave us the Galahorn,
and the Dares of Eternity.
Oh yes, let's talk about Dares of Eternity better. But the thing is that dungeon was really cool. It's easy to do. It has a cool vibe. The Sparrow part can be easier, like really brutal depending on the day.
Don't like that one, but
it has some really cool Destiny 1 guns. That's where the IS Luna came from. But just the fact that it gives you the Galahorn. Galahorn is like such a great exotic go-to, and I'm glad that they won't have to pay for that. And right now, all the expansions are free for anyone that wants to try anything about Destiny. Right now, all of that is free until August 30th. And on top of the game being on the Epic Games Store, Bungie also announced a collaboration between 2 fan favorite games owned by Epic, Fall Guys and Fortnite. So, as part of like the celebration, each Destiny class will have a new armor ornament set inspired by the Fortnite universe, available for silver in the Everburst store, available right now. That's like, if you're playing Destiny, you get armor that's themed that's themed from Fortnite. And then those playing Fortnite can acquire 3 different Destiny character skins and achieve their victory royale with either Commander Zavala, Ikora Rey, or the Stranger, 3 iconic characters from the 3 different subclasses in Destiny that you can do a skin and do Kamehamehas with versus Goku and Venom and Darth Vader and all that. Fortnite is insane, I tell you, being able to put all that IP together.
Watching gameplay of it is just kind of funny now.
Yeah.
It used to be like, I used to hate even looking at gameplay of it, but now it's like, this is just so dumb funny.
Here's the thing. Ever since they made popular the no build mode, that game looks so much different now. Like, has a completely different vibe.
In my eyes after that.
The what?
I said I think it jumped up a lot in my eyes.
Oh yeah, for many. That's what revived the game, because so many people got so good at building in that game that it just made it so damn annoying to play. Because it was like, then how could you like fight against someone that in like 5 seconds builds a building in front of you?
Look at gameplay of it, everybody. It is literally happening, or used to happen, where you'd get hit once,
Yeah.
and you'd watch them just build this entire tower in 3 seconds.
Yeah. You can also play Destiny's control mode PvP inside Fortnite. They actually were able to do the Destiny, the Fortnite Creator Club, which is like the part where you can build a bunch of stuff. They created the Javelin 4 PvP map from IO, one of the few, and they recreated it in Fortnite, and they recreated the mode so you can play controlled PvP in that map in Fortnite, which is crazy. And then also you can acquire Destiny character skins in Fall Guys, which is available free to play now in the console of your choice. I tell you, I have a feeling having Destiny stuff inside Fortnite is gonna like trickle positively back into Destiny.
I hope so. And it's like, oh yeah, let me see what this is about. I mean, that's basically how it happens with everything that gets a crossover with Fortnite. Is people are like, hey, let me check out what this thing is from. And I mean, it's basically exactly what happened in Smash. Way before that, is you'd see all these characters that are like, hey, they're from this game that I have no idea about, but that was fun to play. Let me go see what that is.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just smart. It's like Fortnite is still like a game with 80 million players, with 4 million players playing concurrently. It's like that. Even though like they're not the talk of the town like they used to be, when that thing was like dominating and just flooding everything about gaming coverage and what everyone was talking about, what they were pursuing. Even though I don't see that amount of chatter, that game is still so massive that if you can do this kind of crossovers, that could potentially benefit your game. Like for it to circle back.
I mean, it's literally people buying the skins, so that by itself is helping them. But then everybody else
skins
doing
are
it
$20. $20 skins for Fortnite. It's insane.
After I played Call of Duty, I realized that was where I first saw the $20 skins in effect, and then everything else that does it, it kind of hurts my soul. And then every once in a while, there's that one skin that looks really good, and I'm like, do I have $20? And then I'm like, no, this is where it's beginning.
Yeah,
I don't want to spend $20 on this.
Yeah, there's something. Just think about it. It's like a skin in Fortnite, it costs you the same as Midnight Fight Express.
Yep.
That's the economics of games are insanely like destroyed right now.
To make it fair, it's like $15 for skins in Destiny as well. So
oh yes, but that's the thing. Like they're priced like that because the market is saying that people are okay paying $20 for a skin in Fortnite. So
and they are. It's the worst part.
But then people complain about $70 games. But
really though,
it's weird. Like the things that we can like the value, the perception, the perceptual value of things is so weird for me, buddy. I'll say that I am tempted to go inside Fall Guys and Fortnite and seeing how those skins probably look and maybe plop in some cash because
see, there it is. We're going full circle here, man.
Exactly. There's a certain temptation when they put something that you really like. It's like,
yeah. And
I tell you, I said it in our chat. I finally tried that no build mode because I installed it in the Xbox because I had like a free skin that came with my bundled console. So I was like, okay, I'll redeem it. I mean, the console's constantly asking me, hey, do you want to redeem this thing from Fortnite? Oh yeah, okay, redeem it, download it. So I tried. I was like, okay, this is like, if only this was the game always, because I hated that game before, and now it's like I can tolerate it. So, okay, Paul, that was everything in regards to the showcase for Destiny. Unfortunately, there was another showcase that happened immediately after, but not quite unfortunately, because this was a good one. I made it no secret that I was not happy about Summer Game Fest at all, and this one, even many on the internet agreed, this was like no less than good. You mentioned yesterday that it was one of the best you've seen. I wouldn't go that far because I've really seen some amazing showcases, but from Keighley, yeah, that's the thing.
Not from him, at least. It was like, all right, this is good enough, but I have to give it that this one had the most variety and something for everyone for sure. Yeah. And
so what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna read all the games at once,
and we'll talk about highlights. Yes,
if one like stands out for you. So the games that he showed in order of appearance were Everywhere by Leslie Benzies, the creator of GTA. Dune Awakening, this MMO based on Dune. The Callisto Protocol, we talked about that many times. a few times now. It still looks great. The Lords of the Fallen, a sequel to Lords of the Fallen. Instead of saying Lords of the Fallen 2, they just added a duh. I'm happy that Keighley made a joke about that.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Moving Out 2, the sequel to Moving Out. You played Moving Out.
Yep.
Hogwarts Legacy, the recently delayed game by WB Interactive and Avalanche. New Tales from the Borderlands, the game that leaked, and it's coming out this year. And Dying Light 2 Bloody Ties, one of the first story DLCs for Dying Light 2. Tortuga, that ugly looking pirate game that
like
they were like,
pirate simulator.
Yeah. Marauders, I don't remember much about that one.
That was the Escape from Tarkov with sci-fi.
Oh, okay. So Destiny 2 Lightfall, they showed the exact trailer that they showed at the showcase. So of course they're gonna put it there because more eyeballs were there.
Natural.
So, Sonic Frontiers, which has a November 8th, 2022 release date, the same day as Skull and Bones, and a day before God of War Ragnarok. That surely is not gonna overshadow. It's gonna overshadow God of War.
Yeah.
Under the Waves, that I figured out was a Quantic Dream game that I completely missed on that. I completely missed out on the icon.
You were playing Jack 3.
Yeah, no, I was playing Destiny.
Oh, Destiny.
Yeah, so because I was like, I had both. I had my TV and the thing, so I was looking at both. And that's the one that had that cool art that also looked photorealistic. It was like a weird mix of going underwater and seeing decrepit like ruins.
And because it's so focused on narrative, usually a lot of that is so like Subnautica and survival, but that was interesting. There's like a cool storyline.
It looked way different compared to other Quantic Dream games, so
yeah,
that was interesting.
I'm interested, that's for sure.
Goat Simulator 3, obviously Goat Simulator speaks for itself. That looked more fun than
silly
I was
party
expecting.
game.
What's funny is that I think it looked better than Saints Row. It had kind of the same art style.
that is funny that you would say that.
Return to Monkey Island. Return to Monkey Island was actually revealed at Summer Game Fest, if I remember correctly. So this one got a release date, and it was just on Switch and PC. That was surprising, but eventually it can make it to our consoles. There was Moonbreaker. I'm trying to remember what this was.
Honestly, I don't remember.
I don't remember. Yeah, I will have to look back at the thing, but that was there. Friends versus Friends. I don't remember much, but that was there.
Real quick, Moonbreaker was the Brandon Sanderson game.
Okay.
Yes, tabletop.
The tabletop game. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the one that you're like, oh yeah, the guy that wrote
Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time. That Ghost Rider. Wheel of Time. Yeah. And Friends versus Friends. I don't remember much of that, but Lies of P was that Pinocchio style, like H.P. Lovecraftian.
So, the Friends versus Friends was the really cool, silly music video that was animated, and it was all about the card game with the
furries
person stuff.
Oh yes, that was a furries, and then became like a shooter. Yeah,
that's the one. And then Lies of P was probably one of the.
That was probably the highlight for me in this. That looked so damn good.
That's the Bloodborne 2 that all of us have wanted and didn't get, and it's cool because it's another Pinocchio themed thing coming out this year.
Yeah.
Lies
of P is next year.
Oh well, yeah, technically. So there's 3 Pinocchio movies coming out last year, this year, or next year, and a video game.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
I didn't know about the other 2. I know about the Pinocchio live action movie because we had that long conversation today.
Right. There was an animated one that came out earlier this year that was terrible, and there's the Guillermo del Toro one as well.
Okay. So I think I've heard about the Guillermo one, but I haven't seen it. And then the live action remake of the Disney one that's coming to Disney Plus on September 8th. So, but Lies of P looked so good, and it's also coming to day one on Game Pass. That's a really great get for them for that kind of game, especially when Xbox completely missed out on the glory that was Bloodborne, because that was a PS4 exclusive.
Yeah. So now everybody gets to feel that.
Now this next one, cracked me the hell up because of your joke.
That was funny. Where just basically it was it started off with the lady that was in the International Space Station introducing it, and then it was like they crash land, they build up a new place, and it was very like base builder, sci-fi people landing on a new planet, and I was like, man, it feels like the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn.
And then the name is Stranded Alien Dawn.
And the name was Stranded Alien Dawn, and that was just.
It was just perfect. Yeah, it was interesting time. I hope I get the video of these I'm able to download the video so I can put it in post, because that was a great moment on our stream.
That's a good highlight, that's for sure.
The
next one I know I was super excited for,
because it had that cool vibe of like you said it felt like Forspoken without the cringe, Atlas Fallen, and it had like a bunch of CG before it cut at the end with like the gameplay that looks so similar. Yeah. And that's when it was like, oh, so it's gonna be that.
Yeah. Because at first I was like, man, it could be anything because it's CG, but I really hope it looks like this. And sure enough, it kind of felt like this third person hack and slash with fantasy, but like a little, not sci-fi, but high on the fantasy, where you can like magic and do whatever you want. And it just looked great, and I love it. So
yes, I can't wait for that. Homeworld 3, I'm not a PC player. The PC community loves this, the Homeworld series.
It looked cool though. Spaceship, basically EVE Online, but you buy it once instead of an MMO.
Yeah, Genshin Impact 3.0 came out yesterday, so of course in the same day they were gonna show up some footage of what's coming up. Genshin is not my thing, but I really like their desert thing that they show there. It looked cool. Do you remember about Star Rail?
Yes, that was the same people that did the Honkai Impact thing. They had that CG trailer of the train flying through space. So it's like the same universe as Genshin Impact, but it's like
from Hoyoverse,
separate project. So we don't really know much about that outside of that. There's some kind of interesting story, and there's a lot of interesting K-pop stars.
Okay, yeah, because it's from that company, and they love their fan service.
Always.
Yeah, High on Life is a game that recently got delayed from October to December. That's from Justin Roiland. They showed that extended gameplay look. I remember we were talking about that. That's something that you were not really vibing until he pulled out the sword that was cursing, and then you laughed at that. So.
And it was like hilarious. Just some of the dialogue, it had to seep through my skin, because I feel like I hate people that watch Rick and Morty more than Rick and Morty itself. Because when you watch the show by itself, you're like, fuck, it gave me a little chuckle. That was good. The
Rick and Morty fan base became so insufferable after the whole Sriracha sauce thing, and Szechuan sauce. But yeah, that was a nightmare. Gosh. But yeah, so it seems kind of interesting. I don't know if it's really my cup of tea overall, because it's like kind of feels. You know me that I can pretend myself to be very mature, but God, do I allow my juvenile humor, and I can imagine playing through this in December, and especially now that I have Game Pass and the Xbox Series S, and things are looking good there.
You can't beat the price of free.
Exactly. Free with a subscription. Yeah, The Expanse, the game that's a combination. Yeah, it's from Telltale and Deck 9. So the writers of Telltale are like working with the guys that made Life is Strange Beyond the Storm, which is the prequel to Life is Strange that was shockingly good. And
I don't really remember that one all that much.
It's because many people, it was remember when sometimes prequels come out, they don't get the same kind of like the same stardom as the main thing. And obviously Life is Strange 2 was very well received, because it was like it completely changed the vibe from the first Life is Strange, and the things that it did touching with the immigrant problem and all that was like very impactful.
Real talk, I didn't even realize this was a separate game. I looked at it and I thought at first it was like a remaster or re-release of the original.
Life is Strange Beyond the Storm. It's a prequel by Chloe.
Shoot. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, because I saw it. I was like, oh, okay, they remastered it. All right, and just kept going.
They did remaster the original also. So but Beyond the Storm is actually really good. It was like shockingly better written than the original, and those guys working with Telltale to do The Expanse, especially right now that Telltale is finally like, we're talking about how them moving on from that horrible engine that powered games like the original Wolf Among Us and all that was like completely busted and broken. It's and especially earlier in the show when they showed Tales from the Borderlands, the Gearbox was like, we hired some of the writers that when Telltale imploded to come write the sequel, and us finally working like with proper technology. It's like, it's good that those writers, that all Telltale games are well written, all of them. It was just the technology holding those games back, and it seems like we're finally moving towards their writing finally having proper technology to make their stories justice. And The Expanse, you love the show. The Expanse is one of those shows that has been recommended to me so much that I'm getting close to biting the bullet. Probably close to when Starfield comes out, because I like synergizing my different media together. Like right now with House of the Dragon coming out and me revisiting Oblivion on my Xbox. It feels good to synergize kind of like fantasy all together. Yeah. So Expanse, I think it's coming out late this year, next year. I don't remember much, but
it was this year, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, let me see.
Honestly.
I have the stream playing, the one that I was trying to download, and it has timestamps. Let me see what it says.
Nice. Yeah, I'm googling the games that we're not recognizing by the name alone, but it's funny because if you give us a description about any of it, I would immediately know. But then it's like after everything that you watch, when it just pops up with the title at the end, you're like, that goes right out of my brain for some reason.
Yes. So let me see. It's not showing expands, release, Telltale, date. Let me see what it says. It says it has a new release date here. Summer 2023. Okay, yeah, it was next year.
Okay.
All right, yeah. It's still like, again, 2023 is a nightmare. Killer Clowns. That game that looked like Friday the 13th with a bunch of clowns. It was revealed there. Scars Above. I'm trying to remember.
That was the one that I said looked really generic in AA, of like the lady that looked like she was out of Tomb Raider is in Returnal, basically.
And then we're like, you know what? We need more of these AA games.
Yeah. Yes. So I was like, all right, even if it doesn't look polished, you know what? We need more stuff like this because it's just we need the gap between indie and AAA to still exist for sure.
Then we got something that in concept sounds like the perfect game, Wire Song, the game that
song, I think.
Yeah, which is the game that they didn't show much gameplay or much of a concept, but it said that it's a game made by developers that worked on on Fallout 3, New Vegas, 4, Skyrim, and all that. And I'm like, I was mentioning, it's like with that Western style of RPG right now is kind of been MIA for a while. Like Cyberpunk is the most recent Western RPG we've got, and we know how that went. So
seriously,
exactly. So I was like, that made me excited, even though that was like one of the few CG trailers with almost nothing. But just kind of like the concept. If something that I've learned is that when you say someone has worked on something before, they're gonna make that kind of game, just not in that series. So then
Gotham Knights,
the most impressive, like the most improved trailer,
definitely
next to Sonic.
This probably looked more about what. It got me more on board for Gotham Knights than anything else that I've seen so far.
Oh yes, especially because the footage that was very gameplay focused on the IGN first has not impressed. But but also it didn't look polished. This trailer they did have the polish, and again, some games really get polished 1 or 2 months after a certain build. So at the very least, this trailer looked polished enough, and the story itself now looks so interesting based on everything that they showed, that I'm more willing to give it a go. And it got its release date pushed up from October 25th to October 21st. So
that's right. Yeah,
gives it more.
I thought it was like, oh, all right, 4 days, whatever. But I mean,
4 days is meaningful.
So little, because of where that's coming out in the year for sure.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're gonna do like a digital deluxe edition also, because if they do that, remember there's games that do the 72-hour early access. Maybe then that extra pushes it up. I just got I always said that I really wanted to play that game, even as my excitement has been like deflating a little bit with some of the things that I've said. I just wanted more distance between that and God of War.
Yeah.
So that gives us.
It does give us almost a week, so that's that might be all that it needs to really reach some commercial success, which I honestly do kind of hope for in the end. They've had a rough go of it lately at DC, and I feel like they need a victory.
They absolutely need a victory.
Guys out there at DC right
because
now.
Remember, they in the gaming scene, there was a time where they were like doing no wrong, and then they went MIA, and then Marvel just came. I just hate how kind of like they're always doing good at first, and then kind of Marvel comes in, and then they just dominate, and then they never seem to overtake it.
Marvel can print money now, basically.
Yeah, which sucks.
It's a rough fight.
But anyway. Yeah, Gotham Knights, great trailer. It's like maybe the gameplay's not gonna be all up to snuff, but I'm more excited for it now. Where Winds Meet. That's the
that was the
Ghost
Chinese
of Tsushima's like they say it was like almost Soul-y, very supernatural. Smorgasbord
really cool
things.
Looking action in Chinese mythology. So I'm all for it. I want to see a little more of the quality of life in that, because sometimes I don't know what it feels like. Sometimes you take a step back in the decades of gaming when you step into some of the places that don't really follow a lot of the other gaming things, and since China's really still on the newer end of building video games, sometimes they struggle in that department. So hopefully this is good though.
Oh yeah, the vibe looked cool, and I told you that it gave me a hanker to go back to Ghost of Tsushima because I didn't play much of Director's Cut. So
that's right. I forgot that you never actually finished that. But if it helps, I don't still remember anything from the DLC outside of there was a.
I don't think you finished it either.
No, I finished it. I just don't remember anything about dealing with that because I was obsessed with trying to get all the trophies for it at the same time.
Makes sense because that's like one of the few games that you platinum. I platinum also that one.
Definitely.
Park Beyond. That's the park the park simulator game.
Amusement park, Delio, the Thrillville of the modern day.
Warhammer Darktide, the timed Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S exclusive that with in the Warhammer universe that got delayed to November 30th. That still looks like a fun co-op time. I'm glad that that's still something that the Xbox community, at least exclusive wise, gets to enjoy this year. Yeah. Even as things just keep getting delayed and delayed and delayed. I'm trying to remember, what was Blacktail?
Blacktail was the one that I said looked like Lichdom Battle Mage, but with a bow.
Yeah, from Focus Interactive, yeah.
Yeah, I know that's probably really doing a disservice to all the work that they're doing, but the concept is there, where you get all this interesting magic that you can use just through this magical bow that you're using in its first-person view. It looks interesting. I mean, it's another. It almost looks like a AA level. It's almost like take Kena Bridge of Spirits and make it a little bit more Twilight Princess. So I mean, I'm all for it, and let's see a little more gameplay when that goes.
Yes, and then there was Blacktails, that game that initially I was like, oh, this looks like Sifu.
It was like this Phantom Hellcat.
Yeah, was that? Oh yeah, Phantom Hellcat. Yeah, sorry, Phantom Hellcat. Yeah, and that didn't have a release date, but it was like cool that had the thing that had like a Dutch. And then a second, I mentioned something like, yeah, I like when games do that kind of like quick dodge for the quick kill. That look cool.
And it's funny, if you try to Google it, there's a 50-50 chance that you either get the actual game or a Dodge Challenger. Because they apparently have a similar name. And just look up game if you're trying to find the actual game.
Crossfire Babylon. For some reason, Crossfire X showed up in this presentation for just an announcement for like some a Babylon expansion or mode or something. Crossfire is known as the absolute worst game that has released this year, so
which is saying a lot.
Yes. So
we have Saints Row out.
Yes, which is it's still so unfortunate. I was like, I was ready. I told you I was ready for.
If they come out with a patch that fixes the game-breaking sides of it, I'm honestly willing to try it because
I'm even willing to. Paul, I'm even willing to try it now just to see how bad. Like
just for the memes.
Yeah, for the memes. Let's talk about it after we finish recording.
We'll talk about that after. We might be able to pull something out.
Because remember, it's co-op. Let's enjoy the suffering together. There was that Switch game called Dorf Romantic that was like a top-down. It feel like a.
That was like a city builder.
A city builder. I was like, oh, that feels like Thomas the Tank Engine Simulator.
I mean, I'm glad that there are games like that because sometimes you just need to take a step back and chill. I remember buying Islanders console edition on one of the sales, and it was just nice where you didn't have to worry about a lot of stressful nonsense that goes on with city builders, and just like, I'm gonna place things, listen to some chill music, and vibe. Yeah. We need more games like that, honestly.
Yeah, and then we got the Outlast Trails, which was the Outlast
Trials, sort of. Right.
Was it Trials?
It's technically Outlast Trials.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm bouncing hard off that one. I'm gonna tell you right now
because it's very, very. It's like one of the horror games that I can't stand because it's like you're so fragile in that one, but this is like the multiplayer one.
It's at least interesting what they're going to try to do with it because it seems mostly cooperative survival. I'm not really sure because it was, as with all horror game trailers, it's like cutting between crazy things happening and you're like, I don't really know what's going on right now. and which used to unsettle me, and now it's like, can I just see what's going on, please?
Yeah.
Call me old, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, in all honesty, it's like I would like to see more of like what kind of game it's supposed to be, whether it's like, oh, you can be friends or you can betray.
Yeah, I feel it's like I remember talking about this with Zach. I think around this time last year. It feels like Dead it's trying to be like Dead by Daylight. Almost.
Day by Daylight. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Because it feels almost like it's a multiplayer. This is a match you have to get out, rather than, hey, this is a solid like storyline that you play with somebody, like we've seen with It Takes Two and the Prison Break one that I'm blanking out on the name of. Yeah,
the beta of this is coming out late this year. So
okay, so at least we'll see more of whatever that's going to be.
Yeah. Then we got the finals, which is it was like a game made by former Battlefield people, and then there was an icon for Necron showed up, and then for some reason like turned
Nexon,
you off.
Yeah,
or Nexon,
because Nexon is known for cash grab MMOs, some of which are really solid, but they also have a lot of financial problems with the things that you are able to do versus how much you're wanting to play the game. Just like the problem with Genshin Impact, basically.
Makes sense. Yeah, this one caught my eye because it said that former Battlefield players were working on that, but it showed the trailer had that kind of like dun 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 dun. Do you know how Battlefield likes to do that kind of like quick cut destructions, all that? But
yeah, basically,
it didn't show much for me to be like, yeah.
It's also branded so poorly that it's impossible to Google.
Yeah, the finals.
You search the finals, video game, FPS, whatever. It's going to come up with every single competitive shooter there is. So
it's so important for you to name your game well. That is like. But I mean, there's a game called Everywhere earlier this year.
Which we didn't even mention that, but at first we were both really excited for that one, weren't we?
Yes, but more stuff has come out, right? Just real quick. The show ended with Dead Island 2, which, again, this is another mic drop moment for Geoff Keighley that unfortunately got leaked. But here's the thing. I mentioned in our live stream, and I still stand behind that, is like, he hinged his entire Summer Game Fest on The Last of Us Part 1 remake at the end of his show.
Which really bit him in the butt. Yeah.
I would say like Dead Island 2 is like it's middle tier compared to so many other things that were showed in this entire presentation, that I don't feel that leaking deflated this at all. Like it would have.
Must have definitely made a right amount of deals that he could branch out a lot with a lot of these other things and merging them in earlier areas. Just Everywhere, the deal with Sonic Frontiers, the Lies of P gameplay. So it's like there's a lot of stuff that could have been the mic drop, but the fact that he had some other things to hold off, he was able to sprinkle that throughout the early points of this so that it flowed a lot better, as opposed to the last time when we were talking about all this, where it was like, hey, there's 6 space horror games
and not many of them look that memorable other than Callisto Protocol.
Right, so that's another case of parallel thinking with that one, unfortunately. But I definitely think that he thought ahead a little bit more with this one. So even though Dead Island 2 got a little shafted with what was it, Canadian Amazon?
Yeah, it was it was like one of the Amazons leaked it.
Yeah, they listed it too early, which is crazy how that's just such a thing nowadays, where you like, oh, look, all this stuff that we're working on, maybe somebody hits the wrong button on Amazon. And
at E3 2018, all of Bethesda's E3 conference leaked because of Walmart Canada. And it was so funny when Pete Hines, the PR guy that starts the presentation, is like, I want to thank you all so much to all of you for coming in here, because we were not expecting you to be excited about things that you probably already know, and we want to thank our friends Walmart Canada for giving the presentations for us. So
sometimes I wonder, like, what do they even do about that? Because it's like
sometimes you can't do anything, because it's like it's your retail partner.
The developers, poor souls, when they're just like, this sucks finding out.
But this also sucks because there's no other industry that deals with the secrecy that the gaming industry does. you know of movies ahead of time. It's rare for you to see like a surprise movie.
That's true.
I wish kind of like gaming would be a little bit more transparent, but there's also there's a holdover from the hype of the unknown, but
yeah, especially because during that Wild West days when you could just drop stuff and everyone was like, what? I never knew this was happening. And then that hype just generating so much out of it. I think they just couldn't let that go.
Yeah, but that's the thing. In the internet era, it's very hard for you. There's always many... Like, look at the Destiny thing. The season of the Plunder leaked because the files were already inside the game because they needed to be there for them to be turned on.
Yep.
And that's easy to data mine.
Just as long as people have the urge to ruin fun for other people and gain enjoyment out of that, that's always going to be a problem, unfortunately. And I wish there was a way around it and to stop this from happening, but as it is right now, I don't think there's any way that's going to end anytime soon.
Oh yes, but despite that, at the very least, it's like he came in with a trailer and gameplay for Dead Island 2, and it looks like an improved Dead Island.
Yeah.
It's a game that's been in development for 80 years now. It's going to be 9 by the time it comes out. That game switched developers like 3 different times. So it's a crapshoot how it's going to turn out, but it's just interesting that Dead Island, like a game that captivated everyone with that trailer of the runner with all the zombies coming, like especially compared to the more somber Dead Island 1 trailer, it's like it's back. That was said to be vaporware. So
I'm shocked that it even exists, honestly, because I think I'm pretty sure I'm on the record saying, yeah, that's never happening. But the fact that people were willing to really go through jumping through the hoops to make this happen after all those years, even though it almost feels like it would be easier to just start over with another IP. Good for them, and I want to see more of it, but we'll see if it's been too little too late.
Yeah, and that's gonna be like the big question.
Yeah,
I feel it's a little too late because Dying Light is still there.
Yep, Dying Light stepping in and really crushing it during that time. Even with the struggle release of 2, I feel still did a great job. Overall,
I feel it's more like the zombie craze. It's not what it was. Like it was, in 2014.
So setting expectations, Dying Light 2 did about as well as it could. Because
Dying Light was perfect because 2014, 2015, The Walking Dead was still huge. That was season 4, season 5 Walking Dead. That it was still like breaking viewership records. Before that show jumped the shark and eliminated a bunch of its viewership, and that's when the zombie craze started dying down. But that was announced in 2014. That there was still excitement for The Walking Dead around that time. So maybe it won't here, but that's the thing. Like Dying Light just still found a modicum of sales success. So. And it has a long tail. So I'll say, circling back to the Everywhere one, it's like, because of the way they were like talking about that game, many people were saying it seems like this is going to be like an NFT game. And then IGN went in and kind of like they got tipped that apparently they had like hirings for, let me see if I can find it, like the article where it said that.
Basically, while you look for that, to anybody wondering, Everywhere, the very generically named game, was created by the GTA creators and is trying to be this new, almost metaverse-style open world game where you can drive, do whatever. There was like a third-person shooting process to it that was briefly shown in their like Marvel Studios style opening trailer. And everyone was like, oh shoot, this looks kind of cool, whatever's that about? And then they're like, all right, we'll show you more later. So anyway,
and and people unearthed that they had job postings focused on blockchain technology. Like it was just a job post of people with knowledge about it. But they actually responded to that article that I sent yesterday when the whole scuttlebutt about Everywhere was showing up. And they responded, we're seeing some conversation on NFT scripts that are prompted by some of our open positions on our website. These are research positions, as we do not like dismissing new technologies only because others haven't found a solution for them yet. We are building Everywhere on Unreal Engine 5, not the blockchain. People were saying that they're building this game on the blockchain. Okay. We're creating a new world for players where we come together to play, watch, create, share, and so much more. We hope this helps clarify some of the speculations around this topic. So, I get it. Being like, it's like, you can always investigate the technology, but at the end of the day, it's like, you will know if you implement the technology or not. It's like, it's very easy not to see that. But hey, at least they responded to that.
So there wasn't like a direct mention of there's going to be NFTs in this. It's just okay.
No,
so
they're researching.
Much better.
Yeah.
I still feel like the statements that they had were very vague, very a lot of trigger words of like, oh, you can host content and build things, and all this sounded like is like almost like if you take the Forge mode of Halo, but then they were like, all right, you can like create things through this and do that, and it's like that almost sounds too ambitious to be realistic. Where it's going to be like, all right, you can go into this area and there's people building stuff that you can maybe play like Roblox. Where like I see the market for that and I see the interest in it, but that's also going to sound a little we just need to see more about that one.
I agree.
Really jump in now.
I agree with that, but then it's like it's still a wait and see, and they're apparently shipping this game next year. That's when they're aiming, so we'll know. We'll know soon.
So who knows what that's going to be? But
yeah, and it's been in development since 2020 because apparently this was like sort of crowdfunded initially by Leslie Benzies back in 2020. I wanted to look at everywhere just to see if we had mentions of this game before, and I saw back in like September 2020 he had a raise like $48.4 million to start the game. So I was like, okay.
I mean, that's a good jumping point for something that's going to be constantly putting out content.
And the fact that Leslie Vance is like, he created alongside the Hauser brothers, Grand Theft Auto, the original ones, the ones that were top down, and was there all the way until GTA 5 in 2013. So, it's crazy.
It's definitely that moment in Star Wars where he says, we'll watch your career with great interest. And it's like, all right, we'll see what's going on. I'm going to stay outside of it, but I'm watching. And I want to see how this plays
and let's
out.
see if you still have it. So
yeah, really. I think besides that, there wasn't too much that we needed to add to this. I really liked how Hogwarts Legacy focused a lot on the dark arts because people latched onto that as like a throwaway line from one of the previous trailers. I think their deep dive where they're like, oh, you might be able to learn some other spells, and I was
but it's like,
what? And sure enough, they had like a whole plot line in this trailer where you find Crucio, you teach a lot of the really unforgivable spells and a lot of the darker sides of the Harry Potter world, which is stuff that like they touched on in the like, oh, this is the evil people, but there's also like a whole area of that Nocturne Alley in Harry Potter that's like, it's not illegal, it's just kind of creepy and weird. And it's kind of awesome that they're like latching on to that somewhat and kind of mentioning, hey, there's some weird stuff going on in the Harry Potter universe, check it out.
Oh yes, and on top of that, the game is still looking phenomenal. It's like a game that is looking like it's punching above its weight with what you expect from Avalanche, who last worked on Disney Infinity. So that's still in track for February 10th, and we saw what the gameplay is like in the state of play, so you know a lot of the things that they were showing is like very gameplay adjacent. So
yep, and it all lined up, so I'm excited for it. I want to see more of that, and we've kind of mentioned everything else that we've been really focusing on, but there's any other highlights that we haven't really talked about yet?
Yeah, not much of highlights, but the games that I'm excited for, like legit excited for from this like entire list, I'll say it. It's I'm still excited for Callisto Protocol.
Definitely.
I'm interested to see what a Lords of the Fallen sequel would look like.
The CG trailer was at least catchy.
Yes.
Playing some heavy rock out of it.
Exactly. Hogwarts Legacy, again, mentioned it, is like, it's really, like, it's still looking more and more impressive the more I look at it. New Tales from the Borderlands, especially something that's coming out this year, in the same week that Gotham Knights and Call of Duty Campaign Early Access comes out. I enjoyed a little bit of what I played with Tales from the Borderlands. I've never finished the original one, but just seeing that Gearbox is putting like the weight of a sequel and having the writers from that original, because again, the writing for that one everyone loved. So, Sonic Frontiers, I tell you, it's like it's something that's showing better since IGN previewed it, and obviously it's now in the same wavelength as God of War, but it's something that's still coming around that year. I still like when I hear a Sonic game is good, I at least give it a try, because for every Forces that I get, which is trash, I get a Generations. So let's see where that one lands. The Under the Waves one, because I like most of what Quantic Dream does. I love Heavy Rain, hated Beyond Two Souls, and I didn't mind. I like a lot of parts from Detroit Become Human. There are parts that I cringe.
Understandable.
Yes, but there's some really cool like emotional parts that at least makes that game land despite itself. Lies of P looked so damn good. I just can't. And the thing is that I at least get to try it with Game Pass, just in case if then I want to buy it on my more powerful hardware. Atlas Fallen, another one that I like how it looked. The Expanse, kind of like I mentioned, it's like it's. I'm intrigued enough about that universe that I think a game could be like a good gateway for that.
Yeah.
Wire Song, just come on, another Western RPG from the guys that made, or for people that worked from some of those classics. Gotham Knights also, where winds meet. Just look, I'm highlighting. I'm like highlighting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
There's a lot of these.
It's so like far. I got 12 games that I'm feeling pumped and excited about out of this showcase. You should say that if you can get at least 3, it's like it's worth your time. That this shows to me that Keighley packed enough here that I can say in good faith this was a good showing for him. This was.
Definitely. Stopping here, but even not including any of the last 10, like any others outside of that have your interest. Maybe Dead Island 2 just out of high curiosity. Maybe, and then High on Life just because it's on Game Pass, but that's like I get to try it no matter what. But out of those, there's not too many that I would even add to it outside of all the ones that you've mentioned, basically. Maybe add in the Phantom Hellcat hack and slash. Warhammer Darktide has my curiosity.
And that's a Game Pass thing for me, so I'll get to try it also. So.
And probably Marauders, oddly enough. I normally don't really like that style of game, but there's something about that aesthetic that has me kind of curious. It's same thing with
Scars
Showdown.
And Scars Above?
Yeah.
The one?
But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Hunt Showdown, where it's like interesting concept, not really the best execution, but I want to see people get better at that, so it's easy to like jump in, jump out of crazy stuff going on. So I mean, a lot of this stuff is like, as we've always said, if you have 2, 3, or 4 things, it's a good show. We have about 10 to 15 choices out of here that like any of them could be the next masterpieces or at least really fun, and that's what we're really looking for here.
And I don't even think any of these will be masterpieces. I just think these are going to be great games.
I mean, it's like at the very highest point. The fact that there's stuff that you can spend your time and find something interesting out of this for whatever you're kind of looking for is a victory. And this is definitely a victory for this showcase.
Oh yes, and it needed that. Keighley needs to constantly remind, especially now that E3 is coming back, because if E3 comes back and it turns out good, it's like that could be dangerous for him, because he came out as the hero when E3 went away and be like, yeah, at least I'm trying to give you stuff. And sometimes developers play their hands well and give him enough that it's gonna create excitement. Other times they're just not gonna give him stuff when. Summer Game Fest 2022 is what happens. So, but he bounced back really well with this, and I feel he absolutely needs the live audience more than just him standing in a green screen and bringing in a dev and all that. I feel
he really does flow with their energy. I saw that this time more so than years past.
Exactly. So it made the thing feel like pays better. Obviously, we're gonna have Game Awards later this year. Last year's Game Awards was both the best and worst show that he's had, because he had really great announcements, and then because that's when we got Star Wars Eclipse, that's when we got Alan Wake 2 and a bunch of others. The Wonder Woman game, he likes packing some of that, but he really jumped the shark with the ads in that one, because remember, it was like that the last hour of that show was like so many ads that you didn't even know if were reveals. It was like completely loses you.
Because you were like, all right, I gotta sit here for a minute to find out if this is a game or an ad.
Exactly. So,
oh man.
And also Hellblade 2 was gameplay was shown there, and that looked amazing. So I would hope that again in the spirit that he listens to criticism, I would hope that he tones down the ads for that one, because if it wasn't for that Game Awards would have been a massive success just based on the announcements, because he had not had that good announcements in a while. So And with that, Paul, that concludes the quote-unquote news section of the show, which was just a recap of yesterday. Basically. And but it was a lot of meat. So the game releases for the week of August 28th to September 3rd, Paul. Like next week is September. Can you believe it?
No.
Yeah, so Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobe comes out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One and PC on August 30th. That's the remake for the second Destroy All Humans game. Immortality, I don't know what this is. Is this coming to Xbox Series X and S, PC, iOS, and Android? I would assume if it's just an Xbox.
This was it's an FMV game, kind of like that one interview game where you watch all that stuff.
Okay.
There's something to do about you're watching this character going through life, but it's like with live action people.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Cowabunga Collection comes out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on August 30th. Tiny Can also comes out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on August 30th.
They briefly showed this actually at the showcase just yesterday. Some gameplay of it, that is.
Yeah, trying to remember. Tiny Can. Oh yeah, it was in like one of the quick
little
glimpses of
kid.
Yeah, and then on September 1st, Ooblets comes out on Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Then on September 2nd, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R comes out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Also on September 2nd, Lego Brawls comes out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Also on September 2nd, Made in Abyss, Binary Star Falling into Darkness comes out on PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC. And finally, but certainly not least, The Last of Us Part 1 comes out on PlayStation 5 on September 2nd. This week is packed.
There's a lot of stuff for just about anybody that's looking for something. I mean, I'm still going to be working through a lot of stuff that I've already got rather than maybe Last of Us Part 1.
Yeah, that one's the guaranteed for this week for me.
Definitely. There's a few in here, like I know the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure crew has been looking for this one because that came out on the Switch, I believe, recently. But it was not gonna, I don't know, there was something about it that like a version of that came to the Switch first and now it's coming to everything else. I don't remember.
I wonder if that's that same game or this is just the fighting game. It's one of the two.
I think it's the fighting game.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right.
Yeah, with a name like All Star Battle R, I bet you top dollar is the.
You know that's.
Yeah, fighting by CyberConnect too.
The Cowabunga collection for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I know people have been looking forward to that for a long time.
Yeah, this is a year where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fans from that style of game are eating
out
good.
Of the caves, that's for sure. Because I thought that was gone after the live action movies happened. Coming full circle with that one.
Yes.
Because we were talking about live action versus animation. But Destroy All Humans 2, shocker, I've never actually played any of that, but it looks like a game I'd enjoy.
I think Destroy All Humans 1 is on Game Pass right now. Let me...
Yeah, because that came out as the remaster of whatever last year.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So this is going to be the follow-up to that. How many of those did they make?
They made 2, and there's rumors that because they're doing this 2, they might do a third one. Finally, because the third one was always planned but never came to...
Well, this is the opportunity for them to strike while the iron's hot, that's for sure, because I know a lot of people who didn't get the opportunity to play the old ones, which was back in PS2 era, now is getting into the series, so that's all primed and ready for them to announce a third one.
Yeah.
So good for them.
So yeah, Destroy All Humans is available right now. The original remake is available on Game Pass. So
cool.
I want to hear what the people say because it's so funny. Saints Row, and Destroy All Humans 2 Repro are literally a week apart from each other, and they're both from Embracer. So I wonder if Destroy All Humans 2 is gonna come out on top as the king of the two of those, because Saints Row again let's talk about it. I kind of want to try. I'm so starved for new games, Paul, that I kind of want to see because I've been following Paul Tass and he's having a good time with it, and there's others.
I have at least one other person, one of my friends from the GameStop days, is talking about how much she's loving it. So I was like, crap. It's like, it's kind of janky and the driving's a little weird sometimes, but it's like funny. I was like, oh, that does sound kind of fun, especially for a Saints Row game where it's like that's part of the point.
Should we? That's what our arrangement's for.
That's what it is. So I mean, I'm willing to take the plunge since we're going to be splitting it. But
same. Let's
we'll
split
talk
it.
about that
Let's try to at least try bad games sometimes.
every once in a while. It's
This
see
you
how
never
it goes.
know. But and with that, Paul, that concludes this week's episode. So where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. I've been posting some latest sketches and random things because I realize the algorithm likes when I do things normally, whether or not it's good effort. So I'm just going to try to throw random things at the algorithm to see what works. Lately, it was Aloy and my favorite outfit from Horizon Forbidden West. And
Yeah.
just gonna
I'm
keep doing
so
that for
happy you
other
beat that
things.
game. I'm just so happy you beat that game.
I'm
You
glad
liked
I
it.
was able to enjoy that. You almost lost me with the running speed of the raptor thing,
Yes.
whatever they're called, but being able to fly the pterodactyl was just
And that you
being
saved
able
so
to
much.
call it anywhere is
Yeah,
great.
and on top of that, you saved so much of your whatchamacallit, so much side activities that you could potentially go back to, and you can justify flying.
I can play
around.
like 70% of the game now, basically, because I mainline
Yeah,
most of it.
I did it the opposite way. I did everything before I could fly. So by the time I got the fly, I only had the final spot, did the final things.
See, that's that ability is what I was really hoping something like Death Stranding was going to have, where it's like, all right, it's sci-fi. There's got to be some kind of flying car at the end of the game that you can get, right?
Yeah.
Just like Final Fantasy 15, but alas, we didn't get that one. So
Yes.
I'm glad that I got what I was hoping for out of this one.
Yes,
where I
great
could
game
just
that
do
should have
what I
come out last year to win Game of the Year. So
Definitely.
so you can find your Dork of Art on Twitter. Where else?
That's about it for right
Yeah.
now. Where can they find you?
And they can find me at Twitter at _Dorsegovia, on Instagram at Alejandro Segovia 93, and my written content at thecriticalcorner.com. I'm getting close to finally writing my other long piece, so I'm getting close to finishing Crash.
Yeah, because
And
that's
doing
going to be
all Naughty
have
Dog
you
games.
Yeah, your dissertation, your
Yes.
thesis for your doctorate.
Mhm.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to that. And besides that, I think that's everything.
Yeah, so everyone stay safe, stay healthy. We're getting close to fall now, so start getting ready to bundle up if you're in the cold places. Us that are in tropical places, we just have to suffer rain.
We'll look for maybe late December at the best, Chief. That's about all I can hope for.
Yes, and remember,
Press X.
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta luego.